The Flames have inked another contract, but this time it's a little bit of an unexpected one.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jessica Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Today, the Flames extended veteran depth forward Dryden Hunt, and we're going to talk about his role in the Flames and Wranglers organization, as well as the adjustments that'll likely be made to the Flames bottom six. And we're going to wrap it up with winners and losers of the week, which we haven't done in quite some time. And I feel like there is no better time to do that than here today on this beautiful Friday. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And the team announced earlier today that they have extended 29-year-old Dryden Hunt for another 2 years on a two-way deal at $1.6 million per year. I don't hate this. I guess I just didn't expect it. I didn't necessarily have it on my radar of players that the Flames would consider re-signing, which is probably an oversight on my part. I feel like the Wranglers are a good team. Don't get me wrong. But they've had a lot of talent come and go, especially with Dustin Wolf graduating, Connor Zary, Martin Pospisil, Matt Coronado, Matthew Phillips leaving, Jacob Pelletier leaving. So I feel like they were likely going to sign someone like Dryden Hunt in free agency. But I like this. Hunt was a really good player, or is a really good player for the Wranglers. He had 49 points, 16 goals in 49 games. And it might feel like well, why would the Flames do this? You still have to ice an AHL team. And I know that that's not always on our minds when we're talking about free agency or things like that, but Hunt has become a very well respected leader in the Wranglers and Flames organization. He signed with the Flames a few seasons ago now, I think probably 3 or 4 at this point, and he's been a good addition. He came over from Toronto in free agency, and it was kind of like not who was this guy or who is this guy, but like well, how does he fit in the Flames organization? And there's nothing wrong with being an AHLer. You're still a professional hockey player, and he has made contributions. He's contributed at the NHL level. This past season, he was called up. I believe it was 5 points in 5 games or 4 points in 4 games. So he is he's skilled. Like there's no doubt about that. He's a good option for the Wranglers. And I think that him having consistent minutes down there is good. And he can thrive down there. For him to be putting up, to be a point per game player last year, I'm sorry, but that's rather impressive. He has been good when he's been called up. He's a good fourth line player. And that's why we're going to talk about the fourth line and really the bottom six as a whole coming up next. But I think with Hunt, kind of like Klapka, but in a different way, you can put him where you need to. If there is, you call him up and it's going to be a bottom 6 position, more than likely the 4th line. But if you need him to play up like in the middle 6, he's capable of doing it. I think that that's a really good skill that he has, going for him, is the fact that he is versatile and you don't have to, like with Ryan Lomberg, he's a 4th liner, but that's fine. You still need a 4th line, and the roles of a 4th line have changed over the last 5 seasons. So there's no shame in it at all. It's just, when you aren't playing in the lineup every single night, you can kind of drop in and be a placeholder for where you need to. And to me, it reminds me of like when Klapka was playing on the top line towards the end of the season there. We all know that Adam Klapka isn't necessarily a top line forward, more of a middle 6 guy, I would say, but you have the ability to play him there and he's still effective. And that's one of the greatest skills that I think any athlete in any sport can have on their side. And I think the flexibility, and I think about that at like a work level too. You kind of want someone who's a jack of all trades and can, fill in when you need to and things like that. But I think this is a fine signing. It's it's like you were getting this or Justin Kirkland, and to be quite honest, I don't think that they're going to announce the Kirkland signing until July 1st when Rooney signs elsewhere. Or like they'll announce the Kirkland signing and then, it'll be clear that, Kevin Rooney's on his way out. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the bottom 6 and what it might look like after free agency, because with the amount of forwards the Flames have, not everyone is going to be in the lineup. And unfortunately, some players are going to have to find new homes. There is nothing like playoff hockey, but now this summer, you can take a break from the rink and head to, local events. The nice air conditioning in the theater with the local comedy shows or plays, maybe the concerts. I'm sure Tate McRae's coming to town this season, or this summer rather, and you can get your tickets at Game Time. You can save huge with zone deals. They pick the best seats at the lowest price. And right now, zone deals are offering 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups. Seeing your exact seat before you check out gives you the confidence that you need. I used Game Time to go to 5 out of the 6 Flames games that I went to this season, and it was the best decision. I didn't have to second guess my purchase. I didn't have to worry about where I was sitting, and it was all in pricing, and it's just a better deal all around. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your team every day. So I think that as we approach free agency in the coming weeks, I can't believe it's already the middle of June. That's bananas to me. Happy midsummer to all of our Swedish Flames and any Swedish listeners, by the way. I think that we know where the Flames are and where they stand with most of their UFAs. A lot of these UFAs are ones that you brought in for depth purposes. And I don't want to say they're easily replaceable because that's rude, but there are different players that are capable of playing the same role. And maybe they're the Flames that have been, drafted and homegrown, or they're players that the Flames plan on bringing in. I think that Kevin Rooney is going to end up walking. I don't think that he resigns. I think that he either signs with a team like Anaheim, since he has family in Southern California, or he heads back east where he is from, or just retires in general. I don't know. But to me, Justin Kirkland would be a good signing. I think that obviously he has to rehab from his ACL injury. I still can't believe him and Mantha tore their ACLs within like a couple weeks of each other. And I was at the game where Anthony Mantha tore his ACL. It literally happened right in front of me. It was like, if I remember correctly, it was a non-contact injury. Like he kind of just like skated funny in the corner. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm very clumsy. And I'm sure being a big man on skates, you're going to lose your balance and not be perfect 9 times out of 10. And it just stinks. But ultimately, it led to Matt Coronado securing his spot in the lineup. And Anthony Mantha was brought in for Huberdeau. But anyways, let's get back to what I think this bottom 6 may look like after July 1st. So I think you're going to re-sign Kirkland. I think that that's, kind of a given. It's been discussed at length. It's been hinted at. It's been kind of, most people thought that that's what was coming when instead of the Dryden Hunt contract extension. So, I mean, it's going to happen, and that's fine. I think he's a great player to float between the NHL and the AHL, depending on your roster needs with each club. But I think for all intents and purposes, we're going to say that he's with the Wranglers to start the season, or when he comes back from his injury. So I think immediately your third line is going to look like Coleman, Zary, and Sharangovich, or Pospisil at center and Sharangovich on the wing, or Coleman, Zary, and Sharangovich or Pospisil rotating on that wing. I think it's very possible we see that as a combination. I don't see Connor Zary as a middle or like a bottom 6 center or winger, regardless of where they play him. I think that he has the capabilities of playing higher in the lineup, and that's what the Flames need to do, because we can't let them have another repeat of Sam Bennett. Please. I'm not asking for much. Please. Thank you. And then I think your fourth line is going to look like Lomberg, Backlund, and Klapka. And you're probably saying, why is Mikael Backlund on the fourth line? Because he's 36, almost 37 years old. And he suffered through some pretty severe, or I shouldn't say severe, pretty intense injuries last season for, number one, anyone. but a man of his age, and we saw that it took a pretty big toll on his body throughout the year. And there's no shame in that. I mean, we see this happen all the time with players, so I don't it's not like a shame thing. And we know that Ryan Huska would never scratch Mikael Backlund. We know. That is, I'm sure that thought has not crossed Ryan Huska's mind. And the fact that I'm saying it, I don't think he listens to this podcast, but if he did, that thought probably just came into his head for the very first time. And that's not going to happen. I don't think that there's a world where that would happen. Even if he wasn't being the most productive, or if you saw a decrease in his play, especially his defensive abilities, I don't think you're seeing that. However, they run into the issue where they have too many forwards. And that's the issue now. Because if you don't re-sign Kirkland, you still don't have enough roster spots for these guys, for a lot of these players. And, what are you doing with Sharangovich and Pospisil? Where is Morgan Frost going to play? Where is Joel Farabee going to play? Where is Klapka going to play? Blah, blah. Like, there's just a lot. And I think the Flames have to figure out trading some forwards. And I know people don't want to hear that. But you have to move players out. And especially when they are trying to get younger and incorporate younger players. Whether these are players that they trade for or players that are coming up through the system, like let's say Suniev, Gridden, even on the back end of things, Brusewicz and Perek. Like, you have to have room in order for these guys to play, and the Flames have to figure out where those departures are coming from. And I don't think that the Flames should be trading for any forwards until they find new homes for some of their current players. But coming up next, we are going to talk about winners and losers of the week, because it has been quite the week for former Flames Sam Bennett, AJ Greer, and Matthew Tkachuk. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On Flames. Make sure you are following me on Twitter at Just Belmosto. If you're new here, hello. Winners and Losers of the week is a segment that I used to do. Oh my gosh, it was back in 2020 when the bubble season or the playoffs. The Flames were playing the Jets at the time that this that I started this. And it was kind of like an every Friday thing for a little bit. But then, things change. And I wanted to bring it back because it has been one heck of a week for hockey. And for former Flames, like, I'm sorry, but Sam Bennett, he's going to get a generational overpay. Good for him. As long as it's not the Flames paying it, good for him. But that's my first winner of the week. It is Sam Bennett, because winning another cup is great, but you are named the Conn Smythe winner. So you are the MVP of the playoffs. He led the playoffs in scoring, and that has to feel good. And I'm sure his first cup last year felt amazing. But to get that again, beating the same exact team, the greatest player in the world, and being the MVP, that is bananas to me. And to also go from an organization that didn't know what to do with you and would healthy scratch you at the last minute without any communication. The coaches didn't necessarily know how to coach and utilize their talent, to a team that just won back-to-back Stanley Cups has to be freaking amazing. I think that, he has to be a lock for Team Canada for the Olympics. I was shocked when he wasn't announced on the, like, what is it? Not the original 6, but like the first 6 players. I was shocked. I would imagine that that's happening. And I just really love and appreciate the work ethic that has come out of these players. I think it's there when they're in Calgary, but the supporting cast hasn't been. So I'm hoping that, these last 2-3 seasons have been an eye-opener in some ways for the Flames. But my other winner is, of course, Dairy Queen. Those stocks must be going crazy right now. Brad Marchand was, I don't want to say he made the blizzard famous because the blizzard was already famous, but he was eating what was thought to be a blizzard during the intermission. It was actually a spoonful of honey, apparently. But he did have Dairy Queen, and it kind of became a pregame tradition for the Panthers. And a bunch of teammates would get involved, and they would, go to Dairy Queen, get blizzards, and have the best pregame ice cream you've probably ever had. And he ended up, I don't know if it was collaborating, but they changed the name to like the Brad Marchand Blizzard, it's called the Chocolate Chirp Cookie Dough, which I think is hysterical. And he's been having the time of his life on Instagram too. Like, if you are a former Flame, or like not even just a former Flame, but he was taking pictures of everyone and tagging their former team saying, thanks, so-and-so. So for Sam Bennett, said, thanks at NHL Flames. Thank you for the reminder. I was ready to crash out, but it's fine. It's all good because you know what? Eventually, everything happens for a reason, right? It's okay. Losers of the week, Connor McDavid. The cup is not returning to Canada, and it is not returning to Alberta until it comes home with the Flames. I think that may be the case. I don't know. I'd like for it to be the case. But I think that, for McDavid to go back-to-back postseasons with minimal offensive production, it's crazy because Connor McDavid makes everything look easy. He makes, skating through elite defensemen and like deking and juking them look like a video game cheat and makes it look so simple. But he couldn't score in the playoffs. And I don't know about you guys, but I think part of being like the greatest player in the world, I think being able to score and show up in big games is part of that. And I know. Oh, the Flames weren't even in the playoffs. That's correct. They weren't. Are we going to sit here and cry about it? No. The Flames haven't played a game in over 2 months. Who cares? Rivalries are fun. Rivalries are what make sports fans passionate, what makes, some wins feel much better than others. And also rivalries they don't have to be just between teams. They can be between players. Because do you guys remember a few years ago, Matthew Tkachuk was still a Flame, and he was chirping Evander Kane about his gambling debts. That video showed up on my Instagram feed the other day, and I was laughing. I was like, oh yeah, that's antagonizing him. That, that was pretty funny. That was pretty good. And then that same night, Evander Kane tomahawk chops Matthew Tkachuk in the wrist in the final few minutes of the game. The Oilers are down 5-1 at this point, 4-1, 5-1, and he doesn't even come out for the handshakes. You are a loser. You are, number one, a loser for taking a penalty, a 10-minute game misconduct or whatever, in the final minutes of being eliminated by the eliminated from the Stanley Cup final, and then you throw a little hissy fit, and then you just don't even come out to say oh, good game. I think that's childish and immature. And I also don't understand Paul Maurice's handshake line thing. I don't know, but that's besides the point. Evander Kane is all bark, no bite. So maybe next season he can be healthy and play, but I don't know how much time he's got left in Edmonton. This clock is ticking. But that'll do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for making the show part of your busy days. You can find the show wherever you get your podcast, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And I will be back next week as we prepare for the NHL draft. Bye-bye.